What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back for a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time on, Kichi murdered Sadako's uncle, and we accidentally met with Takano, who I'm pretty sure now is the one that killed Tomoki back in the first chapter and now in this chapter, which is very awesome to hear. And also, I want to thank everyone so much for giving me 100 subscribers, which is insane, which is just mind blowing to me. Which, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm actually pretty sure a lot of subscribers came from this Let's Play itself. So I want to thank each and every one of you for enjoying this Let's Play of this game that's a lot more popular than I thought originally. So anyway, let's get right into it. Let's check out the tips. Fire from Hell.
はい、もしもし、救急ですか、消防ですか。
消防です。
Fire department.
火事ですか、事故ですか。落ち着いて話してください。
多分火事だと思います。こちらは中部高速の柿内サービスエリアなんですけどね。裏の山からなんだかすっごい火と煙が上がってるのが見えるんですよ。あんなところ誰も立ち入らないからなんで火がついてるのかよくわかんないですけど、とにかく連絡した方がいいと思って。山火事にならないとも限らないし。
Now, chapter 2, Takano's body was found in a barrel, which was burned to death. Which is very interesting.
わかりました。すぐに現場を確認しますので、そちら様のお名前とすぐに連絡のつく電話番号、それから火災現場の詳細な場所をお願いします。
消防司令部より通達。G ブロック西側山斜面にて不審火の通報あり。街道から離れていることからカップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火したかの可能性があります。現場は深い森林地帯。周辺に民家はないが延焼の可能性あり。直ちに現場を確認されたし。
消防署ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。通報の現場にさっき到着。ドラム缶が一つ山中に放棄され、炎上しているのを確認しました。
It's Takano.
火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなし。
Okay.
で、ドラム缶の中に多分人じゃないかと思うんです。人らしきものが灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じで、警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いまして。
Okay.
間違いねえよ。これ人だよ。
Okay. So, going to guess it's Takano. So that brings up the question. If Takano is the one that murdered Tomoki, why was she also killed? If she's part of the director's organization, why was she killed? Because no witnesses? Maybe like the director was really like what if they caught her or some shit like that? Maybe. Okay, let's see. Victim of the fifth year.
今年のたたりってことっすかね。
そういうことになるんですかね。毎年いろんな殺し方を見せてくれますが、今年は特に際立っていますね。
自分で自分の喉をかき破るなんて普通じゃないっす。
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出してくれるに違いありません。
お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
ああ、大石さん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃないですか。
裏をかかれました。私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条鉄平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
仏は何者です？
富武二郎。年に何回かひなみ沢に来てる趣味の写真家さんです。ノーマークだったな。
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレて、ターゲットを変更したとか。
Now, after all the information we've gotten since the first chapter, we still don't know why they killed Tomoki. We still don't know why. He's not a part of the Hojo, family. He didn't support the damn thing. And I don't think he was directly interfering with the Sonozaki business. So why was Tomoki killed? It still doesn't make sense, even after all this time since the first chapter. We still don't know what reason would there be to kill Tomoki. Now, last chapter, he was killed because of the storehouse. Yeah, he was killed because... So maybe probably same thing here as well. Yeah, most likely the storehouse. But it's very interesting. This is, interesting.
かなあ。恨めったな。
で、北条哲平の方は何も問題なし。
And you know what? Actually, so let's say the storehouse incident happened the exact same way, just without Kechi or Shion being there, right? Same thing happened. Takano goes into the storehouse, takes pictures, comes back out. Then I guess she injects Tomoki with drugs to whip out his own throat. But why would she do that? Because it very seems like Tomoki and Takano were in cahoots together. I mean, they both robbed the storehouse. Why would she kill Tomoki? There's just a lot of things that just don't fit together. Why? What the hell is the motive? And why was Takano killed as well?
ねえ、夕方頃に娘が祭りに出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけまして。
Daughter? Oh, yeah, that's fine.
先に娘が帰ってきて、あれまだ帰ってないかな
Son of a bitch.
どっかで飲んだくれてるのかな。
大石さんいらっしゃいますか。高杉課長からです。1号車の無線にお願いします。
Yeah, and if they do find Sadako's uncle's body, that isn't going to help matters at all. Since the police are most likely going to contribute it to Oshiro-sama's curse, aka to the Sonozaki, or at least for Oshi, to 3 victims in one night, which is going to be very interesting. Alright, let's continue. Lots of things in this game. Lots of things we still just... We have the pieces, but we don't have the glue that connects them. At first, I thought it was a dream. I was staring at this strange sheet, not really understanding what it was. That was all. I didn't go after it, nor did I ridicule it. The fact was that the board in view was the ceiling of my own room, but I didn't realize that for a very long time. Yes, I thought I had been dreaming, but I had actually been staring at the ceiling the whole time. Lethargically introduced by the voices of the cicadas. Even after I realized I was awake, I couldn't draw forth the energy to sit up. Everything I could see, everything I could hear, everything was like a television broadcast that had already ended. It was hot, so hot I could choke on the heat. My back was moist with night sweats, and it felt gross. Unable to endure it any longer, I tossed into my futon, and finally blood started coursing through my brain. I lazily recalled the long day I had yesterday. The reality, as I lay here, listening to the voices of the cicadas, and yesterday so different from it. In order to kill Sadako's uncle, I had rehearsed, formulated a plan, and dug a hole. It was very hot, and I was tired, wasn't I? And when evening came, I went to school and called him out on the phone. I panicked for a moment when he asked where the police station was, but it worked out. and then I avoided him and swooped down. I couldn't remember anymore what sort of emotions I'd let control my body. In any case, it didn't go smoothly, but I did it. It was very hard to dig the hole for the body. I feel the rain pelting down on me. I don't think I'll ever forget it. The rain, the mud, and the sprays of blood. The sensation of floundering in a swamp. When I met Takano-san on the way home, that wasn't good, no matter how I interpreted it. It was the most misfortunate and uncalculated thing that had happened that night. Everything would have been perfect if only I hadn't encountered her. I was just riding my bike with my shovel in one hand through the downpour, utterly soaked. There's no way someone could surmise I was a murderer burying a body just from that information. Now that I was thinking calmly, napping under the morning sun, that's what I thought. Still, the more I think about Takano-san's eyes, it seemed like she understood. Takano-san, she knew that I killed someone, buried them, and that I'd been on my way home, exhausted. Takano-san wouldn't gain anything from selling me out to the police, but that didn't mean I could feel at ease.
殺しとくんだった。
I had crossed such a bridge to get my tranquil life back, and I finally achieved it as a result. But now, for the rest of my life, for all the tranquil days starting today, I'd have to live in fear of when they could suddenly end. I may have twisted my ankle, dulled from total exhaustion. The fact that I couldn't make the snap judgment I needed to, I regretted it more and more as time went on. You didn't have a choice, Ketchy Marabawa. You didn't have any other choice at the time. You were tired. You were a mess. Even if you had made the decision, you might not have been able to kill her. She might just have been you instead. In that sense, parting ways uneventfully could have been the safer option. No matter how sharp Takano-san's intuition was, she had no proof. Her suspecting me didn't amount to evidence by itself.
理屈じゃ分かってるさ。でも、だからって何の心配もないってわけじゃないだろう。
Thankfully, I have a feeling that she's going to turn up dead soon. Just worry about it when the time comes. Now isn't the time to be worrying. It's the time to be smiling, right? You accomplished so much just to gain a new life starting today, didn't you? Then you should be happy at this new morning. If remembering the past is too hard for you, then just consider everything up to yesterday as having never happened. You said so yourself. You bury it all like it never happened. Well, your wish came true. Everything before yesterday never happened. So be happy, Ketchy Marabawa.
わーい。
I stuck up my hands a ways away. It felt a little silly for me to be the one doing it. I heaved a sigh from deep in my belly. That sigh got my lungs moving. It felt like I had been breathing until just now. It wasn't enough to admonish myself over. All the dice that could be thrown already had been, and the numbers that turned up weren't bad at all. If I lost with those numbers, then I'd just have to give up, I guess. I grabbed the chest of my pajamas and flapped it back and forth. Cool air flowed over my sweating body. Okay. Nothing before yesterday happened. Nothing. Nothing at all. I forget it all. Yesterday was all a dream. What time was it? About midday. Getting myself up and going to school this way seemed kind of absurd. But I needed to go. I felt like going to school would be the first step in my peaceful new life. I didn't care how late it was, I would go. I'd go to school right now and get back to the life I had retaken as soon as I could. My lazy body immediately became lighter at the thought. I rolled up out of the futon, bounced onto my knees, and leaped up like...
10.0
Stuck out my chest with pride at the gymnastic-like pose, then took a deep breath of fresh air. The brisk morning air had gone for a while, replaced by the crisp air of summer. Downstairs, I got a stern talking to by my mother. Where were you last night? When did you get back? You need to tell me when you won't be home for dinner, things like that. But, considering the importance of what I accomplished yesterday, a little scolding was no problem. In fact, even felt like the sort of thing that would happen in such a peaceful life. I listened with an irresponsible smile and stepped out into the sun high overhead. It was around the time lunch break would be ending. Everyone would probably be worrying about me. I didn't go to the festival and now I wasn't at school. Well, maybe they weren't too worried about it. Since they would have gotten a small piece of news, but a happy one from Sadako today. Yes, a small piece of news that her uncle hadn't come home last night. Sadako would probably live her days in nervous tension for a while, thinking he might still come home. But eventually those days would end. And finally Sadako too would realize her uncle was never coming back. And then Rika-chan would quietly invite her. She would say, "You can live with me again." And everything would be back to normal. Our lives would go back to how they were before that man appeared. Sadako would start wearing that extraordinary smile, complete with those protruding canines, and fool everyone with those traps she was so proud of. I'd probably be her first target out of everyone, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I might actually shed tears of joy at the return of something so normal. Sadako. She gradually grew back into that meddlesome personality of hers. I mean, my lack of useful life skills was already completely exposed, so I wonder if I ever be a match for Sadako. But that would be such a pleasant thing to see too. And with such warm, fuzzy predictions, I didn't feel bad for going to school so late. In fact, I wanted to run there now to get there as soon as I could. Instead, I decided to savor the peacefulness of just going to school like normal, without running. The world I obtained for myself that gave me joy just by walking like this. Yes, the world beginning on this very day was something I had won. Without that monumental feat yesterday, I would have never been able to come to school so cheerfully today. The school gate came into sight. Just then I heard the principal ringing the bell to mark the end of lunch break. It was a queer, refreshing sound. I stopped despite myself and let myself take it in. Tap. I had stopped suddenly, so there was an extra footstep. With a noise, the blessedness I was feeling throughout my whole body withdrew into any pore it could find. And as if to replace it, I felt like hundreds of hairy caterpillars were climbing up my feet. I turned back, but of course nobody was there. A single footstep could have easily been my imagination, but the footstep felt so ominous. That extra footstep I had heard after seeing Takano sound off last night. With everything that happened on that insane night, I didn't mind something like that happening once. It had been a hell of a night after all. In fact, having just one hallucination was pretty fortunate. But those footsteps should have ended with yesterday, so if I heard them again today, there was really only one thing it could have meant. Last night still wasn't over. It was still going. Still. That insane night. Forever. The step I heard, just that one extra footstep, was quietly ridiculing the nonsensical notion that the world starting today was completely different from the one that ended yesterday. My classmates playing in the schoolyard are vanished inside with the tide going out. When I approached the school, it felt like that warm, fuzzy scene had ended and it didn't feel good. At the entrance, I took a quick look in everyone's shoe boxes. Sadako Hojo. She was here. Mian was here too. And Lena, of course. Even Rika-chan was here. Tomoko-kun and Okuma-kun were here. In fact, I didn't see any missing classmates. If there were shoes missing, they would have to be my own. I took my shoes off and stuck them in, then took out some slippers. There wasn't a single pair left in the shoe boxes anymore. With that, they returned to their rightful state. But as I stepped up onto the wooden floor, I noticed there was just one pair of slippers left. Huh? Who's?
Hojo Satoshi.
Satoshi, who had never been to school since disappearing last year. Until now, we had committed the exact same act of violence, but I guess in the very end it went differently. You couldn't make it to school, but here I am. I didn't repeat the same mistake you made. I wasn't about to let myself feel superior about that. In fact, I felt an odd sense of familiarity with him. A misfortunate bond with someone I'd never met due to following the same fate. I headed down the hallway towards the usual classroom. It felt like it had been a whole year since coming here. Hey, did you forget Kechi Marubawa? Satoshi Hojo didn't really disappear the night of Higurashi, did he? Satoshi Hojo disappeared a few days later. On Sadako's birthday, if I was right. I don't know what day it was, but I couldn't say for sure I avoided Satoshi's failure unless I remained here past that day. I was still living in that night of insanity. The teacher still hadn't come to the classroom. The other door clattered open, the one the teacher wouldn't use, so everyone turned at once to see who had arrived. The one looked pretty vacant. Suppose I'll greet them.
おはよう諸君。出迎えご苦労であるぞよ。
Silence. When I started to think I'd fallen flat, someone finally started laughing for me.
おはようケイちゃん。今朝も飛ばしてるね。飛ばしてるね。ケイチくん、まだお祭り気分が抜けてないのかもしれない。は
Hearing me on one of those cheerful voices made me realize how dumb those dark feelings I'd been having at the entrance really were.
おいおい、お祭り気分って、そもそも俺。
The festival at all, remember? Before I could say that, Wika-chan smiled at me.
ケイチはちゃんと僕の演舞見ててくれましたですか？うん。ちゃんと見てたよ。
Huh?
あんなにいっぱい拍手してくれてたのに、リカちゃん気づかなかったのかな？
Those damn bells again.
ケイちゃんにシオンのやつがちょっかい出してきたのを無視してね。シオン、ざまあなかった。ああ、いい気分。
Mion starts laughing at the memory that she slaps me a few times on the back.
それで、あの射的屋の対決って結局どうなったんですか？
Tomoka-kun was facing me and talking. There was nobody behind me. That meant he was talking to me?
あれは結局、富武がビリだったのですよ。みんなで楽しく罰ゲームをしましたです。
The target practice game. What?
リカちゃんも実質ビリみたいなもんだったじゃない。あそこで起死回生の大技でガムをゲットとは、さすがは我が部の部員。見事だったよ。
Crying at a time like that is a feat only Furude would be allowed to do. Okuma-kun breathing heavily from his nose. In my direction. Everyone laughed. If anyone but Wika-chan had done it, it would have been against the rules. Wika-chan gave one of her neat eye smiles as she listened to it. In my direction. One of the two turned to me, turned towards me, and then with a somewhat embarrassed smile, she whispered to me so only I could hear.
でも、本当にありがとね。ケイチくん。
もう、何がだよ。
あのでっかいぬいぐるみ、すっごく嬉しかった。大事に枕元に置いてるんだよ。
Okay, what the actual hell?
ちゃんと寝る前にお休みのキスしちゃった。
The class laughed at that cheering and jeering. This whole time, the conversation had been a little bit off. I wasn't quite getting it.
ぬいぐるみがどうしたって？
どうしたって、ほら、昨日のお祭りでみんなで頑張って落としたよ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。
Lena seemed taken aback, but when she answered, she did it with a smile.
なかなか倒せないから額を狙ったり素早く何発も撃ったりしていろいろと試したんだよね。
Okay, what? Huh? Okay. What the actual fuck? I don't even know how to begin. Wait, how? What?
それで圭一くん、鉄砲を何丁もあらかじめ用意して素早く撃ってみせてくれたんだよね。かっこよかった。はう。
Wait, who was this?
あの後の飲み会でさ、町内会の会長連中にもケイちゃんの評判すごく良かったんだよ。ケイちゃんの売り工場に惚れたって騒いでたのは子供会の君吉徳蔵会長だったかな。次の祭りではぜひケイちゃんに何店舗か任せたいって言ってた。
So that whole target, so pretty much the whole target practice scene from the first chapter happened the exact same way. But that couldn't happen in this timeline because Kechi wasn't there. What the fuck is happening?
徳蔵はお祭りの実行委員会の模擬店部長さんなのです。
Marba was saying it's great at making things sound good, isn't he? Yep, whenever he talks about something, it seems a lot better than it actually is. You can't say that.
圭一くんって売り子さんの才能があるんだね。きっとバナナの叩き売りとかやったら上手だと思うよ。
さっきから何の話だよ。だいたい俺
Didn't go to the festival in the first place. I swallowed those words. I didn't know exactly why, but in Himazawa, this is what had happened. Yesterday, during the Wanagagashi festival, Kechi Marabawa had appeared, and he had Wait a fucking minute. Someone stealing someone else's identity. We've seen this before. Chapter 2, the end of the chapter 2. Fuck. Who got killed? Shion got murdered by Mion. But we know for sure Mion died in the tunnels. But the guard heard Shion arguing with Mion, and she was pushed off the balcony and fell to her death, yes. And at the very end of chapter 2, we saw that corpse of Mion, which could have been a hallucination by Kechi. Maybe. Possibly. But what the fuck? So, okay, so now this doppelganger shit has not come up once, but now twice. With this Kechi Marubara being at the festival, reenacting the same things from chapter 1. What the fuck does this mean? I have no idea. What the hell? And he womped up about with all the usual members of his club. He made a big scene at the few stalls, snatched a few sticks of teriyaki and okiyaki in the square, rating each of them as delicious or terrible to get everyone excited. And they seen a gigantic stuffed animal at the target practice game, and everyone went after it. And then I got a whole bunch of the cork guns firing them in rapid succession, throwing each one away after using it. And immediately, I shot down the biggest stuffed animal there. And then I gave the stuffed animal the proof of my victory to run as a gift. Then our fun came to a close as we had to go see Rika-chan's offertory dance. There was a ton of people squeezed in there, and we all got separated, but we each managed to get into good positions to cheer Rika-chan on from. Then in the middle, when Shion came up and asked me to go hang out with her instead of watching the dedication dance, I refused and stayed put, watching the dance until the very end. So, who the fuck disguise themselves as Kechi and why? If someone did disguise themselves as Kechi, why would they do that? What possible purpose would they do that? Why would they do that? It's also very interesting that Shion came about as well. It's very interesting. Okay. But who? Who was that? Well, everyone's been saying it, haven't they? Kechi Marabara. I had an urge to yell in anger at my classmates for having so much fun talking about the festival yesterday with Kechi Marabara. What the hell are you guys even talking about? Far stronger than that feeling, though, was the sheer uncanny nature of this reality I couldn't understand. A Kechi Marabara who wasn't me was in Himizawa yesterday. As I threw away my humanity, turned into a demon, and was busy beating Sadako's uncle to death, I was having a great time at the festival last night. What the hell? Fair enough. I had to suffer through so much, desperately holding back tears, getting so worn out in that downpour, digging holes, chasing, beating, killing, dragging, and burying. Who was this Kechi Marabara who ignored me so and spent such a fun, carefree time at the festival, damn it? Who the hell stood in for me as I put my life on the line working so hard to achieve this treasure-like everyday life? If there was another Kechi Marabara besides me, then what was I? On the night of Wanagagashi, where one died and one disappeared in accordance with Oshiro-sama's curse, there was only a demon who had killed someone. Dumbfounded, as I succumbed to a horrifying possibility, I looked around at my classmates to make sure there was nobody extra I didn't recognize among them, to make sure I wasn't among them. It was a horrifying thought that the real Kechi Marabara hadn't overslept and had come to school on time, and that I, who was no longer Kechi Marabara, had just waltzed in here. But no matter how much I checked, the only people here were ones I knew. The man I met every time I looked in the bathroom mirror was not here.
Hi. 午後の授業を始めますよ。皆さん、席に戻ってください。
What the fuck does this mean, dude? What the fuck does this mean?
委員長、号令。
God, it really does feel like every time I feel like I'm getting somewhere, this game throws another wrench into it that just makes me have more questions than answers. The teacher entered and everyone hurried back to their seats. Upon finding me, who was so stupidly late, she gave me a stern talking to, but I wasn't listening to it. Wasn't our old wife supposed to start today? Something wasn't right. It was just strange. I was supposed to go back to my old fun life after yesterday. I had set foot in an incomparably mysterious world that was completely different from both my old life and my recent one. Yes, this was without a doubt a different world than the one I've been living in until now. There's no way such an absurd thing could be possible. But unless it was true, I couldn't explain anything that just happened. In this classroom, I was surrounded by so many faces I knew, and yet I felt isolated. The cicadas sounded no different than they had before now, but they seemed somehow false. The air was parched and dry, too, making me think, was the air in Himisawa always this uncomfortable?
Oi, Lena.
何かな？授業中なんだよ。
昨日の祭りだけどさ、俺いつ頃みんなと合流したっけ？
To be honest, I was pretty excited afterwards, and I gobbled down some cans of beer. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but I don't quite remember some things. For a random bad boy, it wasn't a bad excuse.
圭一君、最初は来れないって言ってたんだよね。
Okay, that still happened.
みーちゃんの家にそう電話したんでしょ？
That matched. I called Mion and told her to take Sadako in my place since I wouldn't be able to meet up with them due to things I had to do.
さとこちゃんを誘ってあげようっていうのは、みんなでお祭りの準備をしてた時に決めたんだよ。少しでもおじさんの姿の見えないところに連れ出してあげようと思って。
That was the same too. Mion said that when I called her, that everyone had already decided to invite her.
それでみんなでレナとみーちゃんとリカちゃんでさとこちゃんの家に行ってさとこちゃんを連れ出して、さとこちゃんのおじさんすっごく意地悪そうな人だった。
That part didn't matter. What I was trying to ask was...
俺はいつ合流したんだ？
そんなことも忘れちゃってるの？圭一君、だから祭りの前の日はよく寝た方がいいよって言ったのに。
だから俺はいつ合流したんだよ。
My son threatening demand when I was at a loss for words. Whoops, shouldn't have rushed that. Told her I was sorry.
境内でだよ。ひょっこりとリカちゃんと話してたじゃない。
Rika.
巫女さん姿のリカちゃんと楽しそうに話してた。それでレナも加わって「はうお持ち帰り」って。
リカちゃんと話してたのか？
ケイちゃん、用事か何かがあったんじゃないって私が聞いたらさ、ケイちゃん胸を叩きながら自分で言ったじゃないのよ。用事なんかより祭りで大暴れする方が大切だぜって。
I didn't say that. I never said anything like that. I never even went to the shrine grounds yesterday to begin with. I never had the time to stop by a place like that. I went to dig the hole as soon as I woke up. I had a pretty hard time doing it. After that, I snuck into the school and made a call. I called him out and wait. And then it started raining really hard. With that kind of downpour, the festival should have come to a halt. In other words, it ended then. From the time the festival started to when it ended, it would have been impossible for me to have swung by the shrine grounds. I was already there when Mion and the others dragged Sadako out and brought her to the shrine, and I was talking to Rika-chan. And then, where would Rika-chan say we met? The teacher went out to wash her hands, so I ran over to Rika-chan's desk and asked her directly.
圭一とですか？
ああ、リカちゃんはミオンたちが来る前から俺と話してたんだろ？いつ俺に会ったんだ？いつどこでだよ？
圭一が何を聞きたいのかわからないのです。
俺昨日寝不足で半分頭がぼーっとなっててさ、何も覚えてないんだよ。
It looked like Rika-chan brought into my babbling.
圭一と会ったのは 集会所から村長さんたちと出てきた時なのです。圭一は西宮殿の扉の前にいましたのですよ。
What?
何？
Wait, what?
西宮殿？
I never heard a building called that before. Or maybe I have, but at the very least I want to know where on the shrine grounds it was.
村長さんがそこは神聖な場所だからみだりに近寄ってはならにゅうと怒りましたですよ。
What?
圭一、それも忘れてしまいましたですか？
I was too scared to ask anymore. The more I asked, the more it became clear without any doubt that Kechimara was present at the food shrine grounds during the Wanagagashi festival, and he was first seen in front of the ritual storehouse? What the fuck does this mean? Like, I've said that over like 15 fucking times, but like, what? The clearer that became, the more doubts, no, fears I had. Who on earth was I yesterday? Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place and managed to go the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there. Alright. When did that person leave everyone? This morning my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night. Which meant at the very least that Kachimara hadn't come home while my mother was still awake. The festival would have been closed because of the downpour. Wait. Kechi keeps hearing an extra footstep when he walked into the house. Is that extra footstep this other Kechi? Or it could be a hallucination. Maybe a manifestation of like guilt over Sadako's uncle murdering another person. Maybe. Or it could be this other Kechi. But how the fuck does that like fit in? I don't know. If I recalled right, when I went back to the house storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was already raining hard by then, the festival would have had to close down before 7. If I returned that early, I would have definitely won to my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So the Kechimara from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened, the festival was broken up, everyone left, but he didn't go back to the house. That means... When I arrived at the natural conclusion, a wicked chill suddenly froze my spine and climbed up to my brain. That meant Kechimara was the same as Satoshi. One day he never went home. On the night of Wanagagashi, he never went home. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. And I, who was dealing with the corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went up to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? That much was obvious. Kechimara was me. There may have been another one, but that doesn't negate the fact that I was Kechimara. Then that other Kechimara was what? The voices of the cicadas, suddenly filling the classroom, were beginning to bother me. Suddenly I laid eyes on Sadako. Sadako's expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted, and a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. What had last night been like for Sadako? Did she have fun with everyone and feel a little happier, even for a moment? And when she went home, at the end of her dream, she'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. And then this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And then she went to school. Right now she must have been still trapped by the one idea from which she couldn't be saved, that her uncle would need her when she got back. But you can rest easy, Sadako. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. I couldn't tell it was because I killed him. When Sadako realized on her own that her uncle would never return, then that would truly be the end of the long, insane night. That's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Sadako's Nini. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look, calm down and thank Kachimurabara. From a certain point of view, isn't it convenient that there was another Kachimurabara? I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning wouldn't happen. But if worse came to worse and it got out and the investigation got to me, I now have a strong alibi, able to profess the fact that I've been at the Wanagagashi festival. But accepting something so creepy and using it as an alibi... Still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left a really, actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Kachimurabara. Everything that happened before today, so just forget about the Kachimurabara who was there yesterday too. Instead, let's watch gently over Sadako for the day her smile returns. In the day that would mark the end of that insane, all too long night.
それでは今日はこれで終わりです。皆さん、寄り道をしないでちゃんとお家へ帰るんですよ。委員長、号令。起立。
Goodbye. I thought about many things and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way it came to an end along with the class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mian, Lena, and Rika-chan were packing up as well. What about Sadako? This whole day she seemed deflated. Well, her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. Sadako packed up her pencil box and math workbook and mess away, and after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a sigh, then went to leave the classroom. Then suddenly, somebody placed a hand on her shoulder and stopped her.
何ですの？私、ちゃんと水やり当番もやりましたし、プリントだってちゃんと。
Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear.
なあみんな、さ、今日は久しぶりにやらないか？部活。
Sadako always had to tend to her uncle, so club had been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Sadako realize her days of darkness were over.
レナは、いいよ。
そりゃまあ私は構わないけど、聡子がいいならね。
Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Sadako gave a worried work.
なあ聡子、久々にどうだよ。パーッとさ。
そのお気持ちは嬉しいでございますけど。
My uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving.
聡子もさ、連日息が詰まるような生活をずっと続けててさ、もう窒息寸前だろ。そんなのは心にも体にも悪いだけだぜ。やっぱりたまにはパーッと弾けなきゃな。
放っておいてくださいまし。私だってそりゃ部活がまたやれたらと思っていますわよ。
With one word, but she looked down.
みんなで遊んだ方が楽しいのは聡子だってよく知ってるだろ。俺たちは仲間だぜ。みんなで一緒に過ごすようにできてるんだよ。聡子だって昨日みんなでお祭りで騒いで楽しかったろ。
Lena nearly said something, but she was too late.
ケイチさん、何を言ってますの？
My arm on her shoulder seemed to weigh her down and she threw it off.
私がお祭りで楽しく、いつ遊んだって言うんですの？楽しく遊んだのは、ケイチさんだけじゃありませんの。
I looked over to Mion for help, but now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Sadako hadn't gone to the festival. But Lena said it herself, that she went with me onto Sadako's house to invite her.
さとこちゃん、途中で帰っちゃったの。神社には行かなかった。
どうして？
I realized the absurdity of what I just said with Sadako in front of me.
おじが家で待ってるのに一人だけ遊んでると悪いって言って、神社の直前で。
私たちも引き止めたんだよ。今日はおじさん公認だからちゃんと遊んでも怒られないんだよって。
At some point, tears had begun welling up in Sadako's eyes. Sadako was so afraid of her uncle that she couldn't even allow herself time with her friends and went home. No, she was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her friends.
ケイチさんはいいですわね。みんなで楽しくお祭り一夜を過ごせて。聞けば大層盛り上がって大活躍だったそうじゃないですの。お羨ましいことですわ。
Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall.
私には養わなければならない叔父がいますの。ケイチさんみたいにご両親にのんびり養ってもらってる人とはわけが違いますですのよ。
さとこ。
楽しくお祭りが過ごせてよかったですわね。私の分まで楽しく過ごせて本当におよろしかったですこと。私だって部活がしたいですわ。みんなで楽しく大騒ぎして楽しくて楽しくて。でも今の私、そんなの
Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slid down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say that it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Sadako had to feel like that were over. Sadako didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. She could forget all about that now and smile. I was so frustrated at not being able to tell her that directly. Said I said something, and I'm not sure I should have said before I thought twice about it.
帰ってこないんだろ、あいつは。
The words were deeply meaningful to me, but I didn't know if Sadako understood them.
帰ってこないって誰がですの？
ゆうべは帰らなかったんだろ、お前のお家は。
何を言ってますの、ケイチさんは。
Sadako shouted with all her might.
あいつがいついなくなったって言うんですの？いつ
落ち着けよ。だって昨日あいつは帰ってこなかったろ。
ケイチさんが何を言ってるのか全然わかりませんでしたよ。
さとここそ何を言ってんだよ。
What?
だってあの男は。
I killed him. Killed him yesterday. Killed him for sure. And I buried him. Buried him all. He could have never returned to his house.
昨日だって私にいっぱい意地悪して怒鳴ってわめいて当たり散らして作ったご飯を投げられた。お味噌汁もひっくり返された。 暑かった、汚かった、そしてお掃除も私がした。私がああ
What? Whew. What is happening? What? No. What is no. What the fuck is going on? Our stories were matching up.
あいついる？
What?
今朝だって朝ごはんの時起こせって言われたから起こしたのに怒られた。起こさなかったらまた怒るように起こしても怒られた。
聡子。
Rika-chan went over to Sadako and said a few words of consolation. But Sadako angrily refused those words and thrust Rika-chan away.
いいに早く帰ってきてよ。
Crying, Sadako slowly walked out into the hallway. After a moment, Rika-chan went after her. I couldn't stop thinking about the words Sadako had spoken while crying. I buried her uncle last night, but she said this morning that was impossible. I buried him last night, so she couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Sadako? At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice.
ねえケイちゃん、聡子のおじさんが帰ってこないって何？
Gulp. I said too much. I let my emotions get the better of me.
レナも聞いたよ。さとこちゃんのおじさんが帰ってこないって言った。
どうして？なんで帰ってこないの？
おかしいよね。だって今朝もちゃんとさとこちゃんのおじさんはいるんだよ。なのになんで帰ってこないなんて言うのかな。
No, it couldn't have been of someone else. It was his motorbike. It couldn't have been someone else. It couldn't have been. What? What the fuck?
ケイちゃん、言ってることがさっきから変。
Suddenly, Mion and Wena started to speak in strange and creepy Okay, what the fuck is happening? Voices. What were they doing? What were they saying?
ケイちゃんは聡子のおじさんがいると何か都合が悪いことでもあるわけ？
お前らこそ何を言ってるんだ？
What?
聡子のおじなんかいない方がいいに決まってるだろうが。
それはもちろんいない方がいいよね。よね。
Something wasn't right. The next thing I knew, Mion and Wena were smiling thinly, and their eyes were dark and muddy in a way that I'd never seen before. And as our eyes met, the mud even seemed to fill the air.
聡子のおじは確かに嫌なやつだよね。私もいなくなった方がいいやつだと思うよ。でもさ、仕方ないじゃない。
Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. What the hell was happening? After a moment, a chilly, liquid-like feeling as though my blood had been mixed with sherbet coiled up my spine.
仕方ないって、そりゃ仕方ないけど、でもそれじゃ聡子が。
仕方がなければ どうするのかな。
Luna was trying to pop me to say more. There really was no choice, so I killed him. I killed him to protect Sadako.
それは
放っておきなよ。そのうち解決しちゃうと思うしさ。
さとこちゃんがおじさんがいるって言ってるんだからいる。ちゃんと昨日もいたし今朝もいる。そうならそうでいいんじゃないかな。
What? Mian and Luna were speaking unbelievably dismissively. How could they be talking like that? Mian and Luna, they were my friends and were seriously worried about Sadako's abuse, weren't they? They would never put out something like this. And I definitely killed Sadako's uncle. No matter what Sadako or anyone else says, I won't acknowledge it because him being alive was impossible. There's no way he was alive. It was impossible. And yet, since Sadako herself said he was here, then he was alive. I don't know why or how, but suddenly Mian and Luna were at my side, standing there, silently.
帰ろうよ、ケイちゃん。
帰ったらね、今日は久しぶりにレナ宝探しに行くつもりなんだ。みーちゃんも来るんだよ。
Oh no.
ケイちゃんも一緒に行こう。もちろん拒否権はないからね。
What the fuck is happening? If words could freeze blood, then there was no doubt that they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it, a strained sound like a rare thin ice spreading, immensing from every joint in my body. And with them closely at my sides, we left the school as if they were police officers taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home like they always did, but they always stood on my sides as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Actually, it had been strange ever since the previous night. Yes, thinking back, it had been strange ever since killing Sadako's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing. Yes, it still hadn't ended.
何？どうしたのケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
あ、ごめん。なんでもないよ。
When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. An extra set of footsteps. Wait, now remembering. When in chapter 1, Kechi kept hearing these extra set of footsteps behind him, which at the time I thought it was Runa, and we even had that tip that was most likely a dream that he heard, footsteps behind him in the grocery store. So, what the fuck is happening? That was proof. Proof that insane night hadn't ended. Mion left where she usually did and finally came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。お家で待っててね。レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
What was... She was inviting me along on one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at a dam site, right? But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Lena's little hobby, but she hated fishing for garbage. She'd never come with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of her everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they fought two in particular. Nobody lived there, and there was no light, so at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There's no reason I had to fear Run and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Haven't the shrines... Silence of instinct been wailing in my mind for a while now? Warning me that Ren and Mion were strange, that I needed to be cautious. The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two.
あ、 レナ、俺実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
用事？何の？
なんのって、用事だよ、用事。
用事ならなんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
One was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん。ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
本当に？
You're lying, aren't you? You just made that up now, you liar. That's what Rena's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。風邪かもしれない。だから病院に行って薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
本当に？
That wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a little bit, so I wasn't lying. When she couldn't figure it out if my head hurt or not just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
After staring me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp, needle-like stare at me. The tension in my body loosened, and I felt like my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。あそこたまに早く閉まるから。
ありがとう。そうするよ。
必ず行くんだよ、病院。
行くよ。
本当に行くんだよ。
行く。
It seemed like when I realized that I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looked, she might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline her request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went.
ああ、ちゃんと行くよ。なんなら明日病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
それいいね。必ずもらっておいてね。レナ、明日見るから。
Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. One of me must have been monitoring my movements. That wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, moving the world out of order. With the other Kechimara, with those creepy footsteps I've been hearing. With Rana and Mion acting so curious. And above all, with him being alive. Where was I? Himazawa village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Himazawa I knew?
おい、前原圭一。ここはどこなんだ？
I asked, whipping around before the front door to face the one who has been following my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Kechimara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who had been tailing behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence always clinging to me like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. Footsteps always following me was another possibility. It couldn't have been a ghost, so it was just impossible. So the strangest must have been my ears, my head, or Himazawa. Everything I could see was the exact same Himazawa I knew so well, and that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to actually go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling than that desire was the fear when I'd actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at the school. I pretended I'd forgotten something and was going back to the classroom to pick it up. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I was just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be so careful to fake it. After carefully verifying once more that nobody was watching, I went over to the locker. Yes, Satoshi's locker. I committed the crime with the bat I found in his locker, Satoshi's bat. And then I threw the bat into the swamp, which meant the bat shouldn't have been inside. But, what if the bat was still in here? It was a very dreadful, incomprehensible idea, but if it was true, it would explain a lot. If the bat wasn't here, yesterday's events would have all been a delusion. No, an illusion. I hadn't killed anyone, and I'd gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging about with everyone. It would prove that Ketchumabara was really me. Proof that I was only some strange assumption that I'd killed Sadako's uncle. Proof that it had all been a wild fantasy. That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I had just gone mad, unable to separate my shocking uncle-killing dream from reality. That would explain everything. If the bat was here, would I be able to accept that reality? If it was here, nothing will have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone crazy. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker door. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. And just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat, like a stale towel, came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks. There was also a shoe pouch. And as for the bat, it wasn't here. It was how I left it when I took the bat out. There was no doubt. Yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved. But at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Himizawa was, and that was evidence of a reality I found just as difficult to accept. There was noise somehow creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. So what did I know about last night now? Now that I made sure the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? For real, to the hospital. Okay, so the bat's gone. The bat's gone. That has to mean the events of yesterday happened. But Sadako is saying that her uncle's there. Rena and Mion and Rika are saying that Kechi went to the festival. Are they? Is this Ketchumabara, this doppelganger, also pretending to be Sadako's uncle and torturing her? If that's the case, what the fuck is with it? What the fuck is, like, the director is behind this. The director. What? But why? Why would he cover up Kechi's murder? Why would he? There's no point. Why? And why would they put in a replacement for Sadako? Why? What the hell would the point be of that? Can't be the Sonozakis. There's no money to be made from it. It can't be... Because of the damn construction site, there's nothing to tie Sadako's uncle to the dam. Maybe because... No, actually, he's a Hoijo. He's supposed to be dead. The other victims have been Hoijo people as well, so why the fuck would they pretend that he's alive? Or maybe... It's because Kechi went out of line. Kechi did something he wasn't supposed to do. He did something off script, according to the director. And he's trying to fix it by any means possible. By trying to use Rena, Mion, and someone disguised as Kechi to make sure things are in the correct place, that the script is right, that Sadako is still getting abused by her uncle for some reason, that Kechi went to the festival, that that it all made sense in his script or her script or whatever. But why? Why would this director do any of this? What the hell would be the point? There's no money to gain. There's no influence to gain. What is the point of any of this? I don't know. It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom had told me where it was, a big, easy-to-see road went straight there. I went past the shopping street, made a turn. It wasn't overway hard to spot the sign with Irie Quinnick written on it. There was one other person, older man, there in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went up to the counter and told them it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there would be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon. As I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone, and let myself feel the cool air, I actually felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? I could tell him I had a cold, but I was the very picture of health. Actually, I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was actually really sane or not.
前原圭一さん、診察室へお入りください。
Huh? The voice... Irie Quinnick. The fucking coach. Oh my god. We knew he was a fucking doctor. Fucking Quinnick. How the fuck did I not put that 2 and 2 together? The voice from the other side of the examination curtain. I thought I heard it somewhere before.
こんにちは。ここでお会いするのは初めてですね。
監督ってお医者さんだったんですか?
Now that you mention it, he did seem to know his way around when he was looking at my shoulder in the nurse's office. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teachers called him Irie Sensei, didn't you?
一応お医者さんなんかやっています。お医者さんはいいですよ。若いすべすべなお肌を見放題の触り放題。怪しいお注射で自由を奪って私だけの専属メイドに。
ありがとうございました。今のを見てただけで風邪が治りました。失礼します。ペコリ。
わったったった。前原さん。冗談です。さ座って診察させてください。聴診器を当てますから前原さんのすべすべのお胸を見せてください。
For some reason I felt really relieved. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did. I was happy for that.
風邪ではないようですね。むしろ全身の擦り傷や切り傷の方が痛々しいくらいです。ひょっとして半袖半ズボンで藪の中に入って遊びましたか？切り傷から破傷風菌が入った可能性もないとは言えませんし。
As I was chasing that man last night, I kept being scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts.
昨日のお祭りではしゃぎすぎましたね。若いというのはいいことです。
And once again, I apparently went to the festival.
監督も行ったんですよね。お祭り。
ええ。
You know what's really funny about this? This whole situation? Last night I watched American Psycho for the first time. And well, spoilers for the ending, but this exact same fucking thing happened. Patrick Bateman killed tons of people, And at the end, I interpreted it as he didn't kill anybody, but he also was trying to convince everyone that he did kill someone, that he did kill people. He's a murderer. He's a sadist. He's something. Yet no one would believe him. That his alibi was he was at this restaurant with fucking, you know, someone else, you know, as the detective said in the movie. And yet he keeps saying, I murdered someone, I did it. Why isn't nobody acknowledging it? And, you know, the question at the end of the movie is, did Patrick Bateman really kill all those people? Or if he did, then everyone just doesn't care. Maybe they're covering it up for him. And the exact same situation is happening here. This exact same fucking situation. Sadako's uncle is still alive. Yet, you know, there's alibi for Akechi being at the festival even though he wasn't there. And we know for a fact that he did actually do it. The bat's gone. Satoshi's bat is gone. So he had to kill Sadako's uncle. But why is he still alive? And why is everyone claiming that this other Kechi Marabara was at the festival? Why?
もちろんですよ。私こう見えても綿流しの実行委員会の役員ですからね。
俺に会いましたか？
This coach was the same coach that I always known, and I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends, so I asked.
実は私、本部テントでずっと会長さんたちとお酒を飲んでたんで、全然お祭りは見て回ってないんですよ。前原さんには会ってないと思います。
そうですか。
変わった質問をしましたね。ひょっとして今日寝不足ですか？いけませんよ。成長期はよく食べよく寝て育つんですから。
Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in a natural way like me when it did. Coach was okay. He was the coach of the world I know. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world.
こんな話きっと変だと思うんですけど、笑わないで聞いてほしいんです。
ええ、どうぞ。思春期のシャイな悩み、大いに歓迎ですよ。
俺と瓜二つな人間がいるなんてありえますか？
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it hasn't even been 2 times that doppelgangers have come up. Just fucking Shion. I mean, for like the first half of chapter 2, it was like who was Mion and who was Shion, you know, that whole thing. And so this goddamn idea of doppelgangers again. What the hell does that mean? What is this idea of doppelgangers? What the fuck is happening? Coach hadn't expected that question at all and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered.
迷信ですが、世界には自分と全く同じ顔をした人があと2人いるなんて話を聞いたことがありますね。いるならぜひお会いしてみたいものですが。あと、おとぎ話にも自分の分身が登場する話がいろいろありますよ。ドイツのおとぎ話に出てくるドッペルのお化けなどは有名です。
ドッペルのお化け？
There it is.
ええ。自分の姿に瓜二つなんだそうです。不幸の前触れなんだそうで、これに遭ってしまうと近いうちに死んでしまうみたいな話らしいですよ。
When you meet them, you're sure to die soon. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and when my spine tingled. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me though. He was just offering a casual anecdote but that made it feel all the more real.
そのお化けがひなみ沢に出るなんて話はありますか？
さてどうでしょう。
Coach may have thought he was being teased, but so he laughed in an exaggerated way. But when I didn't smile along with him, his laughter suddenly grew fainter.
すみません。ちょっと真面目な話のつもりだったんで。
いえ、こっちこそ笑ってすみませんでした。何か気になることでもおありですか？
I wondered if I should tell him. Then, after resolving myself one final time, I slowly spoke.
俺、昨日はお祭りに行っていないんです。
そうでしたか。お祭りは来年もあります。その時また。
そうじゃなくて、俺は祭りに行っていないのに、みんなが言うには俺は祭りにいたらしいんですよ。こんなことってあるんですか？
Let's say there wasn't even a doppelganger. What if Kechi actually just never there? There was nobody resembling Kechi at all, not even disguised as him. Then why the hell would all of Himizawa cover it up? And if they were trying to cover up for Kechi murdering Sadako's uncle, then why is he still alive? At every angle I come at this from, I can't figure out like one answer to me. Like it all seems like I literally can't think of a single fucking reason why they would cover it up, and yet Sadako's uncle is still being alive. Or if he's actually dead, why they would have someone else abuse Sadako. Or maybe it's that Sadako's uncle really is dead, and due to how much torture she underwent, she still thinks her uncle's still there? I don't know. This could go down so many different ways. I don't know. After blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach thought seriously about what I was trying to say. And he answered, choosing his words carefully.
お話を整理しますね。つまり前原君は綿流しのお祭りに行ったけど、その記憶がないということですか？
I was trying to say something completely different, but I suppose any sane person would come to that conclusion. That night, Catching Barbara was actually at the festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That's obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me. But that was absolutely impossible. That vivid act I had committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it. Actually, yeah, that's true. As does the fact that Bat wasn't in the locker.
いえ、違うんです、監督。俺は本当に祭りに行っていないんです。
気を悪くしないでくださいよ、前原さん。前原さんにはこれまでに気づいたら見知らぬ場所にいたとか、そういう記憶の欠落を経験されたことがありますか？
ないです。それに記憶を失ったとかそういうのじゃない。だってその祭りの時間には別の用事を確かにやっていましたから、寝てて意識がなかったとかそういうのじゃありません。
その用事は間違いなく。大変失礼ですが、何かの思い込みでなく。
間違いありません。完全にはっきりとした記憶、いや事実です。
お祭りの時間に神社にいなくて、よそで別の用事をしていた。 それをはっきりした形で証明できますか？
That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There was only one way to prove that I really wasn't at the festival yesterday, and that was to show that there was no doubt that I killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked a little cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense.
少し横になりましょうか。心を落ち着けて楽にしましょう。
別に横になりに来たわけじゃありません。遠慮します。
少し神経に高ぶりがあるようです。鎮静剤を注射して少し目をつむってみませんか？
Okay, that's kind of.
それで
俺は異常者じゃない。
I realized Coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice.
気に障ったなら謝ります。ですからどうか落ち着いて。
俺は絶対に祭りには行っていない。それは本当に間違いないんです。
分かってます。分かってますから、どうか落ち着いて深呼吸を。
あんたは全然分かっていない。
Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction.
分かっていますよ、前原さん。あなたは昨日はお祭りに来なかった。そうですよね。私は信じます。信じますよ。
Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing it in German. What? So that his patient wouldn't know what it said. Oh. But I could make a good guess as to what he wrote.
あの時間に何をしていたか全部話さないと信じませんか？
いいえ、信じますから。どうか座ってください。
Before I said, I tilted my head back a little. The blood in my face all drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure that I was calm now.
俺が祭りの会場にいることはありえない。なぜなら、その時間に俺は。
Should I tell him or not? I really didn't want to go on living like this, feeling this horrible. And I said them, the final, fatal words.
聡子の王子を殺していたからです。
I could smell the concrete in the room. I could feel the air around us sharpen. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the clock ticking told us time hadn't stopped. With his mouth wide open, Coach even forgot to blink for a little while.
あなたが聡子ちゃんのおじさんを？
Yeah. It's fine now, Catcher Marlborough. Don't hesitate. Admit it with all your strength.
はい。俺が昨日の夜殺しました。
I spoke clearly and fluidly. I could easily tell that Coach's mind had gone completely blank.
どうしてそんなことを？いえ、それは愚問ですね。
聡子を救う最も直接的な方法だと考えるに至り実行しました。後悔はわずかもありません。
そうですか。
Coach smiled thinly and nodded a bit.
だから俺は祭りの会場にいるわけがないんです。
I left the brightness of my house for the darkness of the outside. After that, I dug holes, made phone calls. I had my hands full. And then I attacked him, killed him, and buried him. It was pouring hard at the time. The festival started that evening but was suspended to the rain. There were no gaps in my memories. From the late afternoon until it started to rain, there was no time for me to possibly have gone to the festival.
その体中の傷はその時に。
そうです。里子の家を少し行ったところに林道がありますよね。あそこで襲い、逃げるあいつを追い、町に至る一本道で殺すに至りました。
それは本当に。
Killing her uncle, it wasn't some wild fantasy. I could tell that coach didn't believe me. So I spoke slowly, not letting myself grow excited.
本当です。サトシのバットで殴り殺しました。そのバットはあいつが乗ってきたバイクと一緒に沼に捨てました。死体は殺した場所に穴を掘り埋めました。すべて自分が一人でやりました。
聡子ちゃんの叔父はバイクで通りかかったんですね。ではあなたはそれを期待して延々と待ち伏せを。
あいつが家から出ないことは想定していました。だから電話で適当な嘘を喋ってあいつが出かけるように仕向けました。
電話で呼び出した。でもあなたの家と聡子ちゃんの家は離れています。電話をしてからではとても待ち伏せに間に合わないのでは。
襲撃予定場所から最も近い電話として学校の電話を使いました。
でも前原さん、当日は日曜日です。学校には施錠がされていて入れないのでは。
偶然その時営林署の人が中に出入りしたんです。その隙に入りました。
After that, Coach grilled me on a few different things regarding the incident. He made sure to question me carefully, looking for any contradictions in my account.
信じましょう。あなたが昨日したことは夢とは思えない。
I explained everything, including minor details that only someone who had actually committed the act could explain. I could, of course. It was only yesterday. Coach realized that my story had no exorbitant coincidences or too convenient details that would have existed in a daydream or a delusion, and finally seemed to want to believe me.
これでもまだ俺が記憶をなくして祭り会場に行ったと思いますか？
Coach slowly shook his head.
でもクラスのみんなが昨日確かに俺が祭りにいたと言います。そんなことがありえるでしょうか？
あるわけがない。きっとクラスの皆さんはあなたによく似た誰かとあなたを見間違えたのでしょう。それに集団心理が働いて皆さんはあなたがお祭りにいたと錯覚してしまっているに違いありません。
They couldn't have mistaken me. Beyond all the West said they were spending time with catching Barbara. It was much more than just having mistaken someone else for me. But saying that out loud would just confuse Coach. He spoke to me in whispered tones.
罪の意識はあるんですか？
It didn't sound like he was criticizing me. And even if he had, I would have flatly said the same thing.
ありません。あいつのいなかった平穏な時間を取り戻すために行いました。だから俺はあいつを殺したことなんかさっさと忘れてこれまで通りに生活するつもりです。あいつが現れる前、聡子がいつも見せてくれたあの笑顔が戻った時、ようやく全ては終わります。
犯行を誰かに目撃されたということは？
ないと思います。目撃されてればもうとっくに逮捕されてるでしょうから。
私は医者です。人の命を救う職にあります。 だから私から人間の命を奪うことを肯定する旨の発言はできません。だから私はあなたにこう言います。
Coach slowly rose and placed a hand on my shoulder.
さとこちゃんを救ってくれてありがとう。
Coach's eyes started shedding warm tears. When I looked at him, I started to feel some tears of my own. I didn't know what I was crying for, and so for a little while the two men in the room fought back their tears.
でもおかしいんです。
おかしいとは？
確かに殺したはずなのに、あの男は生きて家に帰ったらしいんです。
Coach's expression immediately sharpened.
状況にもよりますが、気絶や仮死状態など素人が見ると死んだようにしか見えない状態もいくつかあります。
Oh no, he was dead.
その可能性は？
He was fucking
脈を取った
dead.
わけではありませんが、確実に仕留めたと思います。
For fuck's sake, he crushed his skull with a fucking shovel, man. Or with a baseball bat, dude.
前原さんが襲った時の状況を再現してもらってもいいですか？
Coach rolled up a Health and Fitness Week poster nearby and offered it to me to represent the bat. Though I may have been lost in the emotions of a beast that night, I remembered in detail the number of times I swung the bat, the angles I had swung from, and the force I had applied. Using Coach as a stand-in for the uncle, I reproduced them over one by one.
そしてあいつが足を取られてよろめいた時、その時これまでとは違った手応えがありました。頭蓋骨が割れたんだと思いました。
Coach was calmly analyzing this information, using the places I struck in the situation at hand to find out what state the uncle's body had been in.
そして死んだかどうか自信が持てなかったので、倒れた後も何度か殴りつけました。
その時の反応は？
初めは殴るたびに体が跳ねるような感じがありましたが、やがてそれもなくなり、何の反応もなくなりました。
Coach folded his arms and said a few times, and then he spoke.
死んでいます。ほぼ間違いなく。
それは仮死状態ではなく。
Plus, he would have probably reported it by now.
前原さんの話からだけではなかなか判断がつきませんが、ほぼ確実だと思います。それに前原さんは死体を泥の中に埋め、結構な時間をかけて埋めていますよね。仮に30分で埋めたとして、その男は30分間も泥水に沈められていたことになります。それだけの時間、呼吸が止められたら確実に脳死します。
殴った強さ以前に埋める過程で確実に絶命したと。
そういうことです。30分間泥に埋められていて生きていられる人などありえません。
ありえないですよね。でも聡子は生きてると。
Coach, a doctor, just gave his stamp of approval that he was dead for sure. That made it seem all the more unfair that he could still be among the living.
前原さん、これはとても恐ろしい想像なのですが、前原さんが殺した相手が叔父でなく別人である可能性は？
I was faking that too.
え？
He's right. That could be why it cleared up the inconsistency of my definitely having killed someone but him still being alive.
そんなはずはない。だってほら、監督と一緒に里子の家の前で酒瓶の袋を運んだ時、窓から顔を出した男がいたじゃないですか。あいつですよね。里子のおじは。
ええ、間違いありませんよ。あの男です。
実はもう一人おじがいるなんてことは。
聞いたことがありません。あの男だけです。
あいつの特徴を教えてもらえますか？
まず身長がですね、175、もう少しあるかもしれません。
In order to eliminate the worst possibility that I killed someone else, Coach began to thoroughly compare what the man in his mind looked like with what I told him the person I killed looked like. But no matter how many in depth my description went, none of the characteristics differed. The uncle's traits, according to Coach, were all exactly the same as the person I'd killed. But those traits were all extremely vague, and they weren't particularly distinct at a glance.
もっとこう絶対にあいつだと識別できる特徴はありませんか？
そういえば私は見たことありませんが、さとこちゃんが昔背中に虎だかなんだかの入れ墨があるなんて言っていたような気がします。
Tiger.
入れ墨。
That was really important. Everyone had a tattoo. If I found a tiger tattoo on the back of the man's corpse, it would be proof I'd killed the right one. At the moment, though, there was one other thing that would verify this. To go to Sadako's house and see for myself the uncle that had returned home despite having died. But that was far more terrifying than digging up the body and looking at its back. Without even looking at the tattoo, I knew for sure the one I killed had been Sadako's uncle. I cracked his head open and killed him, and yet he'd gone back home. There wasn't any misunderstanding or even the shadow of doubt in my mind about having killed him, and yet it was impossible for him to exist. Kind of like how Ketchumara Bauer had been at the festival despite it being impossible. That small commonality made me feel as though a faint but bizarre force was permeating this insane Himizawa.
一体どういうことなのでしょう。前原さんはお祭りには行かず、さとこちゃんのおじさんを殺していたにもかかわらず、お祭りにはあなたがいて、そして殺したはずのおじさんも生きている。
何がなんだかさっぱりわからないです。そうやって整理して言うと、まるで俺が悪い夢を見ていて、実は殺人なんて存在しなかったんじゃないかと思えてしまう。でも事実なんです。この手でバットでガツンガツンと殴ったあの感触は絶対に夢や幻なんかじゃないんです。
Coach let out a slow sigh, then after looking at the clock got up.
ちょっとこの話もう少し真剣にやりましょう。ちょっと失礼して紅茶でも入れてきてあげます。診療所も終わりの時間ですからね。ジムの方とかも返してあげないと。
Coach stood up and went out into the hallway, leaving me alone. The clock was about to strike 6. I was at the festival, and the uncle I killed was alive. Had I really committed murder yesterday? The only whisper of the fact that proved it happened was the absence of that bat from Satoshi's locker. In any case, I was glad that Coach had taken my nonsense seriously. I just confessed to murder. Normally that would frighten the person away, but Coach said one, he cried with me. I was glad he did. Like so, my tension smoothly melted away, and I suddenly realized I really had to urinate. As though to use the restroom while Coach had stepped out. There was one across from the waiting room. As soon as I left the room, I saw Coach and 2 male doctors wearing white clothing standing in the shadows of the hallway nearby. I didn't particularly intend to eavesdrop or anything, but I was quite surprised upon noticing how uneasy they seemed. I hid behind the wall and quietly listened in. It seemed like Coach was giving directions to the two doctors.
紅茶ですね。用意します。
睡眠導入剤を入れて、種類は任せます。
Motherfucker! Motherfucker! Son of a bitch!
味はミルクと砂糖でごまかしてください。
急激な眠気に不信感を抱く可能性もあります。
Get the fuck out of there, get the fuck out of there.
興奮状態に陥って暴れ出す可能性も。
その場合は取り押さえましょう。
Motherfucker.
男性スタッフはまだ何人か残ってますか？
山犬が1人、それに私たちを含めて3人です。
One mountain dog. What was all this? I think I was already agitated despite what Coach said. Was that it? Was it just a casual conversation and it was only sounding unbelievable to me? Coach said he would bring back some black tea and left the room. And then in the shadows he was telling his subordinates to put some kind of sweeping powder in the tea. Plus they were getting extra help in case I thought the sudden sweepiness was suspicious and started getting violent. Hey, wait, Kachimara Power. Calm down, calm down. There's no way something this stupid could be happening. I mean, he was genuinely listening to my story and he cried with me. I thought I was the only person in Himizawa who would understand. This was...
作り話か虚言の兆候があり、特に昨日の記憶が完全に混乱。
What?
虚実の区別の喪失。
What?
多重人格等の精神障害に酷似しています。
What?
でも、こんな急激な精神障害の発症は普通では考えられません。あるいは先天的、もしくは引っ越し前からそういう兆候があったのか。引っ越し前に精神科に通院例がないか調べたいところです。とにかく前原さんには穏便にお休みいただきます。
The two doctors nodded deeply.
前原さんのご両親にも連絡しておいた方が良いですね。何と言えばいいか言葉が思いつきませんが、彼の自宅の電話番号を調べてください。
My eyes still moist began to shed tears once more. This was too cruel. I really thought he had actually understood and believed what I told him. Now from the other side of that wall, he was bluntly treating me like a crazy person. I believed you. I believed you. I had let down my guard and because I thought you were the only ally I had left after that insane night. Was that a lie? All that about thanking me on Sadako's behalf? Were you just pretending in order to keep me placated? My tears fell to the floor in frustration. I was an idiot. I was such an idiot for believing that bastard. I heard footsteps approaching the doctors. A man in a dress shirt with no tie came running up.
Irie sensei, 大変です。
Bureau staff.
高野さんが見つかりました。
Oh shit.
高野さんが一体どこに？
それが山中で焼死体で発見されたらしく。
I only know that for sure.
死んだ？高野さんがですか？
The men all surprised exchanged glances. Dead? Takano-san? Hey, wait, so then, does that mean when I cursed her wishing for her death, that wish was granted?
焼死とは一体どういうことですか？それは事故ですか？
県警の発表では他殺の可能性が極めて高いと。
As I cried, I laughed quietly. Serves you right, serves you right. If I didn't run into that woman, my murder would have been perfect. But she just had to come up, driving up to me and tried to coerce me like that. I regretted not having killed her on the spot, but now she wasn't dead anyway. My curse, my wish for her demise, it was fulfilled. Serves you right, serves you right.
リサさんが死に、高野さんが死に。
Lisa?
一体ひなみ沢には 何が起こっていると言うんですか。
Who the hell is Risa?
まさかこれが今年のお社様のたたりだなんて言うんじゃないでしょうね。
Like hell, I'll let the curse be real, Coach said. And one person just nodded as Coach Kerr said no one in particular. Yes, maybe it wasn't Oshiro-sama, but this was definitely a spell, a curse. I wished for her to die, so she did. This wasn't just a coincidence, and she died because I wished for it. Then you'll die next, Coach. You betrayed me. You pretended to believe me, but deep down you thought I was a madman. You looked down on me with all that pity in your eyes.
ではとりあえず紅茶の準備を。紅茶は私が持って入ります。私以外には彼は心を許さないようですからね。
God, this is such an interesting scene. I mean, from Irai's point of view, this is the right course of action since, you know, this absolutely insane person. But from Kechi's point of view, from our point of view, actually, as the viewer, we were there. Kechi wasn't at the festival. Or, fuck, maybe it is like American Psycho. Maybe none of that happened. But why was the bat missing? What is going on, man? Oh, shit. Shit. What do I do? What do I do, Kechimaru? This time I heard the voice of a nurse.
入江先生。あ、いらっしゃいましたか。お電話です。
今ちょっと忙しいので後でかけ直すと伝えてください。誰からです？
沖宮警察の大石様ですけど。
Oh, shit.
あっちゃー、悪いタイミングですね。出ます。
Coach left to go answer the phone. The other men headed towards the room with the teapot to make the black tea, like Coach had ordered them to. Fortunately, Coach having to take that phone call meant that there were extra time for me to act. I did decide what to do now. Would I let them make me drink the sedative-infused tea or be held down and thrown into a mental hospital? Nothing would come from starting a brawl here. They had more people anyway. They were all bigger than me. And if it came to a fight, I didn't stand a chance in hell. If I couldn't win against them, then there was only one thing left to do. Run. Adrenaline suddenly rushed into my brain and my body started to move with a keen instinct like it had been on that night. My surface temperature quickly cooled and the transmission routes between my cells enlarged. Using 360-degree visual information, I searched for an escape route. I would open the window behind me. Outside was a parking lot. There were no cars. A little beyond that was the bicycle I had taken to get here. I determined that this would be the quickest method of escape. I approached the window swiftly, but with little sound to raise as little suspicion as I could. The speed and silence of a shadow, like I had been on that night I chased her uncle. I unlocked the window and opened it up. The cool evening breeze wafted in. I stuck my head out and looked over the parking lot again. Nobody in sight. No need to hesitate. I quietly crawled outside and closed the window behind me. I held my breath and listened carefully. Nobody seemed to realize I'd won. I looked around. Then I jumped onto my bicycle and zoomed away. The pedals clattered under the force. Had my bike always creaked like this? Did the pedals always whine every time I pushed down on them? My bike wasn't the only one crying, though. My tears fell as the wind cut through them. They whirled the breeze and scattered behind me. Ugh. I hate this. I'm not the crazy one. Himazawa is. How dare you treat me like a madman? Die! Just fucking die already! I believed you. Ugh. I'd gone to the hospital in order to escape running Mion's invitation, but the reality that was waiting for me had been too cruel. Who was insane, me or Himazawa? Or was the answer something else? I started having trouble breathing. I didn't have any clue what was happening anymore. The loud chirps of the Higurashi were irritating me. Were even the Himazawa Higurashi I knew so well calling into the wind? No, that wasn't quite it. They weren't calling. They were crying. The pained wailing of those lost in some kind of rhythm in another world, no longer able to return to their own sunlight. I didn't do all that to end up in a world like that. And actually, about this time, I might have been having fun with everyone else. Sadako would have gotten her smile back after realizing her uncle wouldn't ever come home, and she might have shown it to us at our first club meeting in a while. That was the kind of world I wished for. So what was this? Why did I end up in such a strange, ghastly world? Someone I'd kill was living like normal, and I enjoyed myself at the festival despite not being there. I don't want it. I don't want this strange world. When did it start to go wrong? When? When? No matter how much I thought about it, I never understood. I rode swiftly, returned to my home. It had begun to rain during my journey back, and just like yesterday, I was now soaked. But I didn't care about something so trivial right now. The pain I felt in my heart that Coach, the one person I trusted, was acting so cruelly was far worse. Did I have no allies in Himisawa anymore? With the naive thought that I at least wanted my parents to side with me, I stepped up to the front door. Wait, Ketchy. It'll be dark soon. There's something you want to check, right? Yes. I wanted to dig up the man's corpse and get a look at his back. If there was a tiger tattooed there, I would know beyond a doubt he was Sadako's uncle. That long night wouldn't end until I was certain. If this insane world was all replication, all a divine punishment, then I needed to make certain whether I had been successful enough to even deserve to pay that price. I went to the storage room again and got the shovel. It had been washed in the rain, but the paint was peeling, making it look unsightly. I never ever wanted to touch this thing again. The sensation of it in my hands was totally different from the night before. There was a ruthless coldness about it. Yeah, it would be dark soon, so I needed the lantern too. There would be a bit of light from the streetlights, but it would get extremely dark. I thought I put the lantern here, but I suddenly noticed it wasn't anywhere to be found. Then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Of course, on that night I hadn't brought the lantern back with me. I left it at the place I buried the body. If I didn't go to get it soon, it would get very dark. And then not only would I be unable to find the spot I buried the corpse, but I wouldn't even be able to find the lantern itself. If that happened, it was all over.
Isogo.
In order to fit the shovel in the basket on the front of my bike, I needed to twist it and disassemble it. But it looked like there was dirt in the joints, and no matter how hard I pushed, it didn't want to come apart. After a strenuous effort, I realized I couldn't get it apart, so I decided to hold it in one hand and ride my bike with the other. With a downpour soaking me through and a shovel in one hand, and riding one-handed, it was as if I returned to that night. No, return was the wrong word. It was more like that night had never ended. The pain of the raindrops striking me was no different from then. The thing that was different was Himisawa, the world and nothing else. The rain clouds were already making it dark, and now it was about time for the sun to set. I could tell it would only get rapidly darker. The straight road leading to town, in the middle of it, that should be where I buried it. Yes, it was near that street, right? On that night, too, the water from the downpour was splashing down from the street's lights, overhanging like a waterfall. The pouring rain was exactly the same as it had been that night, and thus it brought my memories into focus. I left my bike in the bush and stepped into the forest, the ground already soaked with mud. Where had I buried him? Think. The darkness, the shadows, the water, the mud. Everything was the same. Think. And then I spotted the lantern by a fallen moss-covered tree. That's right, I left it right here. And if I left the lantern here, then I would have buried him over here. The sensation of standing in the sludge, my feet remembered the spot better than my eyes did. I plunged my shovel into the ground. It's hard. It wasn't here. I just dug it up, so it should have been softer. I stick my shovel down in a few spots to test what they feel like. One of them clearly felt deeper. I recalled where the lantern was, where the trees and things were in relation to each other, and knew that it had to be here. Under here swept that man's corpse. There would definitely be the tattoo of a tiger on his back. But if it wasn't there, then I had made a horrible mistake and killed someone completely unrelated instead. I would be more dazed at the fact that Sadako's uncle wasn't dead than I would regret having gotten someone else mixed up on this. If this insane world was punishment for the sin of committing murder, I wouldn't be able to accept it until I killed Sadako's uncle for good. And then without any fear, I attack him again. And that time I would kill him for sure. But what if the tattoo was there? That would mean I killed Sadako's uncle. But that would be terribly strange. If I killed him for sure, then who was the uncle at Sadako's house this very moment? Possible. I didn't even know anymore what I was using the word impossible to refer to. I've used the word quite a few times already today. If I had to make the words impossible fit just one thing, what would it be? That much was obvious to me. I shouted, then turned behind me. There was nobody there, of course. It hadn't been bothering me for a while, but those footsteps had followed me this entire day. Even just now, an extra set of footsteps had splashed behind me. No one was actually there, no indications of anyone even. But they were there. That's right. Thinking back, the first time I heard those footsteps was after Takano-san and I had parted. Those footsteps were my welcome into this strange inside-out world. No one could be there. I get no response. Whoever it was, they just kept staring at me. It wasn't ominous, just unpleasant. After staring into the empty space for a bit, as I bathed in the rain, my illogical anger swept away. My tensions loosened, and a tired feeling reared its head. I tasted this feeling that night too. The sudden exhaustion I felt as the tension in my brain loosened. My vision quickly narrowed, and I felt like everything around me had suddenly gone darker. I couldn't give in to the sensation. I would light what little explosives were left in my brain and force myself to keep going. I needed to take that man up before my stamina ran out. I needed to see the tattoo on his back. I caught my suddenly ragged breath and calmed down. Then I stuck the shovel into the soft, muddy ground again. It felt exactly the same as that night. The sense of digging a hole in the beach with water coming into it with every wave. What day was today? Had I gone back to the night of Higurashi? Every strange thought that came to mind tormented me. Given my exhaustion, I didn't think I could manage to hold these thoughts back. Once the hole was deep, all illumination finally faded, blanketing my vision in jet black. It was probably the moment the sun had fully set too. That night I felt worse and gone without using much light. My senses were so strained that I couldn't see even in that darkness. But now I didn't have that kind of strength left. I drained everything I had last night, and now the darkness would be lethal. I decided to turn on the lantern. Putting it on the first setting would make it give off a faint light. Even with how little it was enough, and people wouldn't be able to see it from far away in this rain. I grabbed the chilled lantern, turned the dial with a click, set it to the weakest light setting, and turned it on. An uncanny world of silhouettes appeared before me. A complex and strange shadowy world created by the intricate entanglement of trees and branches. I had only turned on the light, and it was like that was all it took to make the world into something else. I let out a quick, tired breath and wiped the liquid, neither rain nor sweat, from my brow. Then I raised the shovel into the air and slammed it into the mud. That moment, the silhouettes surrounded me ominously, all moved at once. Inside my head, something packed in there, something coarse but not hot or cold, was wildly rushing about. The silhouettes were all around me, looking down at me. And one of them, a silhouette bigger than the others, stepped forward.
Konbanwa.
Oh, fuck.
月の綺麗な晩ですね。
The coarseness of my brain shot through my whole spine and left me at my waist. The strength of my body all left through me from my hips, and I crouched down with a splash into the sea of mud I dug myself.
Oish!
目上の人にはその後に3もつけるとなおよろしいかと思いますよ。 そうでないと大人になってからいろいろと苦労します。
It wasn't only Oshi, but 5 or 6 of them in a row, men wearing raincoats. I had no inkling that this many people had gotten so close. It was like, once I turned on the lantern, they just appeared there, sliding out of the shadows.
どうぞ、私たちのことは気にしないでください。森の木立だとでも思って。
Don't mind them.
そうです。私たちのことは気にされず、どうぞ穴掘りをお続けになってください。こんな時間にこんな土砂降りの中で、そんなにも真剣にやっているんですからね。邪魔なんかしませんよ。心ゆくまで掘っちゃってください。
No, thank you, I said. When I tried to get up and turn around, 2 men blocked that route. They stood on either side of me and lifted me up with amazing strength and threw me into the sea of mud. As I soaked in the mud path I dug for myself, I looked up at the silhouettes looking down at me. Oshi squatted, picked up my shovel and threw it at my feet for me. It bounced wildly off the mud and hit me in the face.
ほら、続きをどうぞ。続きを。
I couldn't bear the oppressiveness of the silhouette surrounding me, and slowly I stuck the shovel into the mud again. I felt like I was digging my own grave. If I kept digging, it wouldn't matter whether there was a tattoo or not, because that man's corpse would appear eventually. It was all over, surrounded on all sides and nowhere to go. But I just couldn't figure it out, no matter how much I thought about it. Why were they here? Was it Takano-san? There was only one person who could have made the connection between me and this place. Shit, I knew it. She deserved to die.
手が休んでますよ。
Bam! Oshi kicked me in the back, which took me by surprise, sending me flying in the mud.
ちゃっちゃと掘っちゃってくださいよ。雨の中で待たされる方の身にもなってほしいもんです。
くそ、そんなに雨が嫌なら帰ればいいだろう。
Oshi kicked some mud into my face.
口より先に手を動かしてください。口と手を一緒に動かすのは落語家だけ。ねえ。
The men around him didn't react, not knowing quite whether they should laugh, but when Oshi glared at them, they started mumbling out pained chuckles. Just, who was this guy? I knew the world had changed after that night, but if I went even further back, then it started when this guy showed up. That was when our peaceful days had been taken from us. Ever since he showed up in Himizawa, things had been odd. Everyone stopped smiling and the world went crazy. The ground under my feet gradually got harder and heavier. At this point, even I started to think something was odd. I hadn't buried him this deep on that night, had I? My exhaustion peaked, and I sat down on the spot.
いつまで掘ればいいんだよ。
最近の若い人は体力がありませんね。おい。
At Oshi's gesture, the men all pulled out their own sinister-looking shovels. As I watched the daze, one of them grabbed my collar, dragged me out the hole, and threw me to the ground. The rest of the men stepped into the hole I dug and started shoveling themselves. As I stared at them, dumbfounded, Oshi sauntered over and squatted down to look at me directly.
前原圭一さん。あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかな。
When I didn't respond, Oshi took one of the tin buckets they were using to bail out the muddy water, scooped up some of it, and splashed the whole thing in my face.
今日は大雨ですから、これ以上いくら濡れても全然わかりませんね。
Oshi smiled to himself and scooped up another bucket full of muddy water.
もう一回聞きますよ。あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかな？
そんな趣味のやついるもんか。
Splash! Oshi hit me with another bucket full of muddy water. The pebbles in it stung.
あの穴を掘ると何が出てくるんですかな？私、花坂じいさんのここ掘れワンワンってのが昔から憧れでしてね。
As he spoke, he ran the bucket through the muddy water again, to splash in my face again.
あそこにどんな宝物が埋まってるんですかね。私にちょっとだけでも教えてくれませんか？
If you want to know, then dig on your own time, you fucking pig. And I wasn't saying that out loud, but Oshi mercilessly drenched me in muddy water again anyway. Shit. If only you hadn't shown up, the world wouldn't have gone wrong. Ever since you showed up, things have been strange. Sadako got abused by her uncle. I ended up killing him and the world went crazy. It was how it all began because of this culprit. He splashed another bucket of mud in my face. My insides were seething with anger. Die. You die too! If I have some strange power to kill somebody by cursing them like with Takano-san, you're dead. It won't be Osho-sama's curse, it'll be mine. I'll curse you and kill you.
反抗的な目つきですね。これを機に少しそのあたりをお勉強してしまいましょうか。今は平和な時代ですがね。私があなたくらいだった頃は何でも鉄拳制裁が普通でして。
大石さん。
One of the digging men in raincoat swiped some sweat off and called Oshi over. Oshi tossed the bucket away, then turned around with an evil grin on his face.
はいはい、何でしょうか。
これを見てください。
Acceptance, or maybe resignation. I wanted to say to them, so you blockheads finally found it. Yeah, that's right. I'm the one who killed him. But you're in the police, so it's your own job to figure out who he is, right? Come on, prove it to me that he's really Sadako's uncle.
何ですかこりゃ。
多分古い排水管ではないかと。
What?
あそこの用水路に繋がっているようです。
ぶっ壊しちゃいましょうか。どうせ使ってない缶でしょ。
The men all exchanged glances, then hesitantly broached another topic.
大石さん、もうかなり手応えが固いです。これより深くってことはありえないと思います。
掘る場所を間違えました。
いえ、初めのうちは明らかに掘り返す感触でした。
What do you mean the body?
ですが、このくらいを掘った頃から急に硬くなりまして、多分もともと掘った穴よりも深く掘り進んだのだと思います。
じゃあつまり何ですか。ここには穴があって何もなく、ただそのまま埋め直されたと皆さんそうおっしゃるわけで。
What were they talking about? What the fuck? What do you mean the body's gone? What, the body's gone. The body is gone. What the fuck does that mean?
こりゃ参ったな。ねえ、前原さん。
Oshi grabbed my collar and dragged me to the huge hole they dug. The mud inside was like an ocean, and I couldn't see any drain pipe down there. One of the men stirred it with a shovel, letting me hear it clang against something hard. There was no doubt I buried him right here, but I hadn't buried him this deep. I didn't dig it deep enough to unearth an entire drain pipe. So, then, this man, his corpse, where was it? Proof that I'd been successful that night was gone. Gone. Then, what on earth was I? Was I actually crazy after all? Just possessed by the delusion that I killed someone? That couldn't be. It was the unmistakable truth. It couldn't have been a hallucination, but now the most important evidence that it hadn't been an illusion was gone. I killed him. I buried him. I had absolute unwavering confidence in that fact. Then, did I fail to kill him? After I left here, had he started breathing again, crawled out and gone back to Sadako's house? Was that it? I had come here to see whether he had a tattoo or not, and yet the truth I unearthed was far more than that. Yesterday, what was I killed him. I buried him. There was no doubt. But for some reason he lived and crawled back out, and that was impossible too. I'm so tired of hearing the word impossible over and over. I get it. Just people don't like to play by the rules here in Himizawa. Then I'll kill you as many times as I need to. I'll keep killing you until you never show your face to Sadako again. Oshi and the others were muttering to each other. Eventually their conversation ended, and Oshi came towards me. What did he want to say? What did he want to do? I was stiffened, tensed up, and then Oshi just ignored me like I wasn't even there, passed right by me. The other men too, they ignored me and shuffled away. Eventually there was no longer a sign that anyone was around. I returned to my quiet world of silhouettes. The only one left there was me. Only the sound of the pouring rain filled up the silence. What the fuck? What the fuck, dude? Holy shit. Oh my god. What the fuck does this mean? What the fuck? What is going? I need time to think this over. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something? Put it down in the comments below. Want to check out the Discord server I use or my Twitter? Check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.